hello everyone in Southbridge. This is Max Gullickson coming to you from Southbridge Community Television. For the first time in a long time, we've all been a little bit derailed by the coronavirus, and I am so happy and thrilled to say that we're back here in our studio for the first time in 4 months or so, conducting an interview of areas of interest to the town of Southbridge for people on Chapin Court and Eastford Road and everywhere in between, all through Southbridge. And today, for our first interview back, I have with me the chairman of the Southbridge Town Council, Jack Jovan. Hi, Jack.
Good afternoon, Max.
Thanks for coming on.
It's always a pleasure to come and join you and have a little chat.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you, and it's good to be back in my studio, I'm telling you. Now, Jack, you were recently re-elected as chairman of the Southbridge Town Council, and it was a unanimous vote. That must be kind of gratifying.
Yeah, it was. I really thank my colleagues on the town council for putting the faith in me to continue on, and now I'll start my third year as chairman of the council after coming off the challenging year that we just completed.
Indeed. So before we talk about next year coming up and all the things that you have in mind for the town, let's talk a little bit about last year. I mean, we had, other than the normal things that you were trying to accomplish, you can talk about that, we obviously had the COVID virus to contend with. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges that you faced with that?
Yeah, it was quite a challenge. Number one was to make sure that all our residents and our employees stayed safe and healthy. Mm-hmm. And as this began to take shape and town governments kind of closed down, and how do you balance the health and safety and welfare of your employees and the residents, but also maintain town services? Mm-hmm. So I was very grateful to work with the panel that we had through the Emergency Operations Center, which I was grateful as the chairman of the town council, as more or less the XO, kind of setting the agenda and managing and mitigating the meetings. But the two incident commanders that we had, can't say enough about them, Chief Paul Normandin from the fire department and Chief Shane Whitson from the police department. They did a great job in their leadership roles. And then all the department heads, right from the town manager, DPW, finance director. We were going weekly meetings at the beginning, able to make sure that we handled everything that we needed to do. The school system, the school system was out there still feeding the kids in their feeding program. Upwards of, I think it was almost 700 kids maybe a day. So it was a tremendous team effort to mitigate. Now, finally, we're at a point where we're not back to normal, but at least our town operations are up, running, and people can come into the town hall and do as much normal business as possible. But can't thank all those individuals enough that participated, including Councilor Adams, who did a fabulous job as our public information officer, doing Facebook Live. And I'd like to thank you guys here at Southbridge Cable Access, because you came down to our Facebook Live events as it was going out on Facebook, but you also put it out to the town. So really, it was a great team effort, and we thank everybody involved. And listen, at COVID-19, this coronas, it's still a serious issue. We all have to be mindful. We bring our mask in, make sure you wear your mask. We're doing the 6 feet apart. No shaking hands at the beginning like we usually do.
We all learn new habits.
But let's face it, it's a challenge still, and we have to stay vigilant, make sure that everybody's practicing social distancing and stay healthy, because we don't know what the fall and winter season may bring, and we're doing our best to stay prepared for it.
It seemed like we all learned on the fly, Jack. We all learned the rules as we went along. It was an evolving kind of a situation, and people stayed pretty loose, and they used their heads, and I don't know why, but here in New England, we seem to be doing well. I think people took it really seriously. At this point, July 20th, New England is in the lower end of the spectrum throughout the United States. Now, other than all those things you said, I know you had remote meetings. You kept government open by hook or by crook.
Oh, that was tough, yeah.
But we did it.
Yeah.
But in spite of that, what were some of is there anything, a thing or two that comes to mind that was accomplished or that you got put behind you as a council last year, even with the COVID?
Well, I think with listen, we had a lot of great plans moving forward. I think we finally finished off the Central Street parking lot. Yeah. So that's finally a project that's done, and we've done some remote meetings with some projects going locally. The Franklin Realty property, they've come before us, and we put that before to do some housing and some other mixed use, and I look forward to that plan coming forward. And we continue to work with the school system to make sure that we can provide the best for our school kids. And it's again that COVID-19 put a tremendous challenge, and I think perhaps we talk about doing chairman chats. We'll have Dr. Villar here to talk about what the challenges were for the school department.
Now, okay, so we talk about the past. Now, we just have a brand new town manager. It's exciting.
Yeah, we
we
hope
gotta-
we hopefully sign him tonight, July 20th.
Yeah.
We hope we get him signed in for the contract. He's looking forward to starting, and we're looking forward.
So what are the kind of things that you, Jack, as the chairman, are looking, what are important things that you're looking to accomplish here in this coming year?
Well, I think first off is, again, COVID-19 is going to continue to be a challenge. And one of the biggest challenges that we have is the finances of the town. It's been very difficult because normally by now, end of July, you know what your state aid is going to be and what that revenue picture is going to look like. The state hasn't come out with our numbers yet.
Is that because of COVID that they're
Because of COVID-19. So they had to, while we had the initial baseline numbers, we were in a pretty good position.
Yeah.
We weren't looking at adding a lot to the town.
Yeah.
We didn't get a tremendous bump in state aid, but we're waiting. Some estimates are they might cut our state aid by 20%. To start off with this fiscal year, we have to be very careful on our spending.
Now, the
and
fiscal year
hiring.
started the 1st of July.
July 1st, yeah.
So we're, 19 days past the fiscal year? Shouldn't they have told us by now, Jack? Or
They should have, but there has been no dialogue from the State House as to, hey, this is where our budget numbers are, and they're revising estimates. And, we closed out fiscal year 2020. I think we're still waiting on the final numbers, but I think we'll be okay for FY 2020. The challenge is going to be, and I've had this conversation with the new town manager looking forward, what's it going to be like in 2022?
Oh, I see.
Because this year, okay, we might be able to mitigate some things, but if there's a structural deficit in the federal state spending, that's huge.
This
So
might have long-lasting 2-year down-the-road implications, or year and a half down-the-road implications.
Yeah,
I
so we
see.
have to be very careful and mindful of what we do
Yeah.
as a town on spending. So we've already instituted some guidelines in place to mitigate that.
Has the state given the town or the towns any indication of when they're going to know how much?
No.
Does the federal government have any play in this? Are they waiting for the feds?
Well, I think everything's the trickle-down effect. So as they bottleneck in Washington,
Yeah.
it affects us here at the local level.
I see,
Because
yeah.
we don't know. But we'll meet the challenges. We have a good team in place, so we'll work really hard on that. So that's a number one challenge for July 1. We have some projects in the pipeline that we've been working on. I think that are kind of exciting. We have a whole project, Main Street Main Street paving project, where
neat.
I think it's going to be all the way from the Marcy Street area all the
Yeah.
way down to Everett Street. That whole Main Street area is going to be repaved, new
Oh, that's
water
gonna
line,
be
new
nice,
sour,
John.
and the new traffic lights.
New traffic
We
lights?
know how we talk about those traffic lights and the bottlenecks that we have. And
Yeah.
these, to my understanding, through the planning process, are going to be smart traffic lights where they measure what cars are there and kind of do that.
So smarter than the ones we have.
Yeah, so that would be exciting. We just, in the last budget cycle, just funded some monies to do engineering for Hook Street, Hamilton Street, Foster Street, a whole redevelopment of that whole traffic patterns and new traffic signals in that area. So that's exciting. So that's going to go, and that will be, I think, estimates where we put up about $480,000 in capital, which is very tough because you also want to manage your local tax dollars, but that small investment, well, it's a large investment to us, on the ground.
Town, sure.
But for $480,000, that was the investment for all brand new water, sewer lines, and all those streets in that corridor. I think it's $3 to $5 million the federal government's going to give us to do that. So for that investment, we talk about roads. Roads
Yeah.
have been the number one priority for the council for the
Yeah.
last year or so. So we've tried to come up with a plan to fix some side streets. So again, we have Main Street being done. If you do 4th Street, Hamilton Street, La Rochelle Way.
Those are all well-traveled areas.
Yeah, well-traveled areas.
Yeah.
And then I think next year, we're looking at using some grant money to repair the West Street area.
Oh, cool.
So-
Another road that could use it?
Yeah, so
Oh, terrific.
so for roads, we're really looking at that.
Yeah.
The Wells property, I know a lot of people talk about what's up with
Which one, the
Wells.
one on Main Street?
Middle School, yep.
Oh, okay.
So
I got you. Right.
my understanding through the economic development people, as you know, we've been under a purchase and sale agreement for that. It's my understanding that the closing may occur within the next couple weeks. And
What are they doing with that?
That's going to be 55-year-old and above housing.
I see.
So, income-based type housing.
I got you.
The developer's ready to go with that to start pulling permits, and I
Wow,
think
that's
his
exciting.
contractor.
That's been in the work for a little while.
That's been 5 years, 5+ years, maybe
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
So we'll be excited to get that project going as well.
All right.
And then there's a project down in the Franklin Realty area where on Case Street.
That's the old AO.
The old AO.
Mm-hmm.
So on K Street, as you go down to the Big Y Plaza, the last buildings on the left, the brick buildings, that first brick building, he's looking at putting some housing in there for like affordable housing. And that came before the council, and I believe he may be ready to go on that fall, depending on everything's contingent on COVID.
Yeah, right.
But he also came to us too with a whole plan on that whole riverfront area to redevelop that. It's a pretty exciting plan. I think those plans are up on, well, I'll have to check the website, but we'll get those back up. He came with a pretty robust plan with all kayaking and riverfront.
Oh,
So
neat.
I think if you look at that whole
It's beautiful.
exciting
in there,
things to
Jack.
go forward in the downtown district, and
Yeah.
I believe in the burned out area that was the building, there's a project possibly for there. So
We're in the whole downtown, right there at 300 Main Street, where the fire was a few years back.
yeah,
you're talking
yeah.
about?
So
Oh,
there's
neat.
somebody that had purchased that
Yeah.
property. I think
The
there's
property next to it improves on a steady basis. I mean,
Yep.
it was a pile of bricks, and now it's not.
right, and he's had the
So-
challenges for COVID-19 as well. So,
Yeah. Who's that, the developer there?
The developer there.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting time, I think.
Yeah.
Now with a new town manager coming in and
Yeah.
maybe some
New energy.
new energy,
Yeah.
I'm excited about the upcoming year,
Yeah.
even though we have the challenges. And,
Yeah, I like to think, Jack, that, and who am I to say, but it's just, I'm hoping, based on the national stats, that we're sort of on the, at least in Boston, or in New England, I should say, we're sort of on the downside of that. And if we're cautious, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I hope we don't have what Florida has. And
No, I hope not. And,
I think people here took it very seriously. I mean, I don't go anywhere without it.
No, I know it's
me
become,
and the bunny, me and Big Bunny, without Giraffes, forget it.
and it's become second nature.
Second nature to
You
have
see a
it.
lot of people, they jump out of their cars and then they're ready. Oh, I forgot it. They go back to the cars. So.
They got to turn around and go back. So it's an exciting time going forward, John.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously we have a good team in leadership roles. So I think the entry with the new town manager will be pretty seamless. But he has a lot of great ideas, and we have the biggest project that I think on the horizon for the town is our continued work on the fire station and replacement of the fire station.
Yeah, that's not done.
Not done. I mean, it's a big nut to crack. It's $25 million plus project.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had fire station building committee had come before the council to select a site, which was Central Street, and we had a little hiccup in that process because something else has been
Talked about, huh?
talked about, and the town negotiated an agreement for something
Yeah.
there. So we're the fire station building committee is going back to the drawing board to say, hey, where do we go? Where do we pick up? And again, I think with a new town manager, there'll be some excitement, some new ideas, and how to fund it and all that. So.
Terrific. Jack, we've had a run of managers here, and we're starting with a new one. And our town charter, which I don't know if everybody knows what that is, it's sort of the constitution of the town. It's the rules that we live by, just like the Constitution is the rules for the United States. And it's written by citizens. It was last time. And Jack, there are those who say that the current charter, which has been in place for, 15, 20 years, probably 20, that it gives a little bit too much authority to the town council. This is one of the criticisms I've heard. Really, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, obviously we're looking at doing a charter review. Every 5 years there's a charter review committee to review it, and then you appoint a charter commission at some point, whatever it is. But we're at that charter review period of time. Listen, the charter is a check and balance to the council and the town manager. And you really, I think I've learned as a chairman over the last 2 years that I've been chair, those are the 2 years that I've been on council, that you really have to look at the charter and how it's interpreted and what powers there are. So, I mean, the town manager has a tremendous amount of power as well, which is balanced by your town council. But I think there are some areas where you have to take a look at and say, what was the intent of the people that drafted, or the voters that drafted that charter? What was, the powers vested in the town council are legislative, policy making, appropriations, budgeting. Now, there's some things in there which is interpreted that how you can transfer monies within accounts for say. So it
We ran
limits.
into that.
I think over this last year, different interpretations of that charter, you see where we're transferring 26 cents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think in this charter review, you have to take a look at what's a reasonable approach to the fiduciary responsibility that council has to manage tax dollars and make
Yeah.
sure that the taxpayer is getting the right use of their money, which is
Right.
our money.
Right.
But also give some authority to a town manager and finance department to make necessary transfers that aren't unreasonable.
Sort of like routine transfers.
Right, so
maybe,
there was an
yeah.
interpretation just last year where it came down to you could transfer the greater of $10,000 or 30% of a line item. Okay, so a lot of those line items could be $100, $1,000, which, okay, 30%, not a big number. But a couple of those line items, when you get to salaries, i.e., say police salaries at $2 million, say, that's $600,000 that a town manager could move within a budget with the department head without any oversight for the council. So that's why I think where you have to really say, how do you balance everything? So it's a good time to take a look at the charter and say, what does it mean?
Now, periodically, actually, it's every 5 years, I think.
Every 5 years.
It's a committee which doesn't redo it. They look at it and they determine. They recommend minor changes, but they don't rewrite it. A commission does that. Is that right, Jack?
That's correct, yeah.
So what you're looking at right now, you're trying to form a committee.
The committee, the charter review committee.
And how many people are on that board?
There's 5 people appointed by the chairman.
That's an ad hoc committee. So
Yes.
it doesn't last forever.
Doesn't last forever. They have a year to review and make
You have any
recommendations.
openings on that, Jack?
We've had openings. We've had some people express interest. We'd like to get that. I think my belief is I'll probably announce that at the next council meeting because we have
see.
the town manager appointment tonight and
Yeah,
a
right.
couple other things,
Other
like
things going
subcommittees.
on. Yeah.
So at the next meeting, so if anybody's interested, we did have people that were expressed interest. Most
Yeah.
of them were former town councilors that have expressed interest. But it's a good opportunity to take a review of that. And anything that they recommend to council will then go to the voters.
Right.
And then every year after with that, you have to have a bylaw review committee.
So if any of those people are telling me that they could always go to, even if they're not on the board, they could attend these meetings and make their feelings
they're
known.
all open
They
meetings,
could
yeah.
attend the town council meeting when they're voted on and make their feelings known, or they could stop you at Big Bunny and talk to you. I
You
mean,
welcome all the input you can because there's a lot
Yeah.
of, we've went through this last year, we had a lot of committees and boards that have openings on, and that's a great opportunity to get involved in town government
that's
and learn what the charter says. Everything's on the internet.
Yeah.
So you can go to the Southbridge website and put Southbridge Town Charter, and you can pull up the bylaws, the charter, and all the zoning bylaws. I use it all the time. I go right on, it's bookmarked, and there's one site, and you just click, and you can look whatever bylaw, charter, or anything you want to see or learn about, and it's a good opportunity to learn.
You know the rules here.
You got to know, and I'm no expert, believe me, because I know we've had citizens come up and say the charter says, which is
We
fine.
have.
I mean, that is fine, and that's
We do have charter scholars in this town.
because the
Yeah.
voters should hold us accountable as well. We're
an
accountable to the
educated
voters.
electorate is a beautiful thing. Jack, any thoughts at all about the year common that we haven't talked about that you'd like to touch on real quick? Or
Well, I just think going forward this year again, it's going to be a challenge fiscally to make sure that we're able to operate. So we ask residents to be mindful of that. And input is an important thing. I mean, and the challenge I think that we have right now is obviously if you look out in the council dais, there's very limited space for the public participation.
Right.
And I've done everything that I possibly can
Yep.
to make sure that the public, that we operate in a transparent manner. And that's why I thank you for getting on board right away and working out a way for us to be able to broadcast those meetings that were remote,
Yeah.
right live through your
Such as they
Cambridge
were,
cable
Jack.
company.
Yeah, but we got it. Yeah,
But we got
did.
it.
And
So
you got
I mean,
your
it
meetings
was
going, sure.
open government because you
Yeah, I
have to
think
have
that's
open government. You
important,
can't
too.
do things in
Yeah.
secrecy. So I think as we go forward, the challenge is going to be to make sure that we can have more robust public participation. Because I honestly don't see right now allowing the public to come into the building to be able to participate as they used to at the
Yeah.
dais. So everything has to be remote. But we'll work with you and the group to try to make sure how do we get that so people can hear the councilors.
Just like everything else, actually, we're working towards what is close to the way is comfortable.
Yeah.
Whether or not we get there, but it's a step-by-step process. We're feeling our way in the dark, sort of. So,
Right,
but,
and I know the planning board and the zoning board have tried to do their best to make sure that they have
yeah,
public
they're
participation.
running remote meetings, sure.
Right,
Yeah.
so that is a challenge, but
Yeah.
we want to hear from the public. We want to know
Yeah.
the good, the bad, the ugly.
Absolutely.
But the good, and it's nice that we've gotten some,
Yeah.
I received a letter from a resident about our town manager search, and I'd just like to thank the search committee while I'm here
Yeah.
as well. Because those people that were that I appointed to the search committee, I had Pete Canoyer from Big Bunny Market, president of the Southbridge Business Partners Association and longtime resident. And
Pillar.
right. Bonnie LaSavio,
Pillar.
worked for Tri-Community Chamber of Commerce, I believe, and did not Chamber of Commerce, but I think. But anyway, she did the United Way.
Yeah.
United Way. So and worked at Cornerstone Bank as a vice president of human resources. So that we were welcome to have that. Former council chair Dave Langevin aboard, and the councilors Dave Adams and Joe Catrona. I think they did a great job.
It was a good group, Jack, and they brought some great candidates.
I mean, and the thing was, we worked together to make sure that whatever we paid for salary, and I know salary is a tough thing because it's a lot of money that you paid, but you pay for a professional, and I'm confident that we'll be happy with who we selected. So it'd be great. I think next month perhaps. As we move forward and do chairman chats down the road again, and I can bring in the new town manager and ask him what his thoughts are, and maybe bring in some other councilors as we move forward.
Oh, that would be great, Jack. I think that for me and for all my compatriots here in the studio, just getting the studio back open is just one more step toward normalcy. And Chairman Chats was such a fun show last year. It was so informative, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because now that we're open, there's no reason for you not to bring guests up here, especially now that you've been reelected. So you will. You'll have people up here?
I would love to, because I think number one is we have to get Dr. Villar back up here to talk about the schools. I mean,
a lot of change
this will be the third year,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of challenges for the school system. I mean, one, we're a school in receivership, and this whole COVID-19 just moves us. The challenges that we had and all those progresses that we had made.
I mean, he's like everybody else. He's got to comply with federal, state,
and it's a challenge.
Yeah, it is, and you can find out from him better as well as anyone.
And so I'm looking forward to the upcoming year. Like I said, there's a lot of work ahead of us, but I'm confident that the council that I have, that I work with, my colleagues, they're up for the challenge. And I also want to thank former Councilor Nash, Rick Nash, and Monique Manna for their work they did on council over the last few years.
Sure,
I mean, their voices will be missed, but
yeah.
I know they're not going anywhere. I mean, they've asked to participate in some boards and commissions and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome to have their kind of experience to continue on.
Yeah, I think that's good, and that's where you want to have some kind of balance between those that have served and maybe some newcomers to get a fresh perspective of what's going on.
Jack, thanks for coming on.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, Max. I always enjoy coming chat with you. We always say that it's going to be like 10 minutes, and it usually goes a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's right. There's just so many interesting things.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean,
here we are at the age of Corona and our little masks.
Yeah, so
because we don't go anywhere without them.
We don't go anywhere without them.
Next time we have you up here, Jack, you'll be in this seat, and you'll be an interesting person sitting right over there, and you can talk to them.
Yeah, I think we'll be the new town manager, and we'll get going on that.
Oh, that's awesome. Folks, thanks a ton for watching Stockbridge Community Television. This is Max Gullickson, and our first foray back into the studio, which is just so exciting. And just one more indication that things here in Stockbridge, and hopefully the rest of America, are eventually going to drift back down to what we used to call normal. And also exciting to learn that Jack is going to be back in here, and he'll have more guests for Chairman Chats and interesting and useful things for the town. Folks, thanks a lot for watching, and we will see you again right here on Southbridge Community Television. Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah.